The question begs to be asked with all of these parshios over here. Did Yaakov ever know that the brothers sold Yosef at the end and what they put Yosef through? So it's actually different opinions about this. There were around 20 years that Yaakov was totally unaware of Yosef's existence. But did he ever find out? So the Daas Zekanim, in the beginning of Perek Mem Ches, says that it's implied that Yosef just didn't hang around Yaakov because they had to inform Yosef that Yaakov was sick. They had to tell Yosef, Yaakov's sick. Well, why didn't he know? He didn't hang around him. Why not? Yosef was afraid that if he would spend too much time around Yaakov, then Yaakov would say, what happened? And he would have to divulge what actually happened with the whole story, what his brothers tried to do to him. And as a result, Yaakov would have cursed his sons and they would have died. Similarly, the Ramban as well says in Memhei Chav Zayin that they spoke all the words of Yosef. Ramban says, it appears to me that the pshat is, the explanation of this is, and if you look at the footnotes of the Rabbeinu B'chaya, they point out that the Ramban uses this language because from the Midrash it's implied that Yaakov did know about the sale, but says the Ramban, it appears that the explanation, the basic explanation of the psukim is that Yaakov didn't know about the sale. Didn't know. Yaakov thought that Yosef was wandering in the field. People found him, they stole him, they tried to flip him for a profit. They sold him on the slave market, finish. Yosef never told Yaakov what happened. The question is, how does the Ramban explain the pasuk that says that they related all the words that Yosef spoke to them? How do you explain that? In Memhei Chav Zayin. What does it mean, all? They said everything that happened to Yosef. Yeah, everything explains the Rabbeinu B'chaya, everything except for the sale. Which is interesting because kol means everything. Okay. Rabbeinu Yonah explains. This is actually quoted in the biur, the explanation of the Ramban in the Oz V'Hadar Mikros Gedolos in footnote 140. It's explained over there that Yosef never told Yaakov about the sale because he didn't want to say lashon hara, derogatory information about his brothers. Amazing. This would have constituted as unnecessary derogatory report. Furthermore, his father would have been in a tremendous amount of pain if he knew what happened. Kli Yakar says explicitly as well in Mem Hey Dalid. Yosef didn't tell Yaakov what happened because of lashon hara. So there's different opinions over here. There's a sefer called Vayivach Yosef. The whole sefer deals with this. Yosef never privately visited Yaakov for 17 years in order that Yaakov would never ask him what really happened. Only before Yaakov's death, Yosef privately visited him because he didn't want to have to tell the whole story and then embarrass his brothers. Chazal say that when Yosef visited Yaakov, his brothers were petrified that Yosef would reveal what actually occurred. And it's implied from that statement that Yaakov never knew the true story. We truly see the righteousness of Yosef. Yaakov taught Torah taught Yosef the Torah he learned from Shem Ve'ever, right? And the Gemara says that the older foolish people get, the more foolish they get, as opposed to the older wise people get, the wiser they get. To the end of the Gemara in Shabbos, Yaakov knew a tremendous amount of Torah, more than what he originally taught to Yosef before the whole sale happened and everything. It's impossible to put into words how much Yosef wanted to learn the Torah from his father and how great Yaakov Avinu was. But he overlooked this. He was willing to forego learning from Torah from his own father, from Yaakov, at the very high level. Why? In order not to speak lashon hara and embarrass his brothers. Tremendous. What a tremendous idea over here. The question obviously becomes, why couldn't he just have sent a messenger to his father and lie? Say he was alive, he was wandering in the field, someone found him and sold him. The Gemara in Yevamos says permissible to lie for peace purposes. There's certainly no greater peace than this. We have to answer that Yosef could have lied and told his father to spend more time with him and learn Torah from him, but Yosef went lifnei mishur sadin and didn't lie, beyond the letter of the law. Question on that answer is, it's inappropriate to go beyond the letter of the law at someone else's expense. There's what to discuss over here. However, from the Midrash and the Psikta Zutra, as well as the Midrash Tanchuma, they say that Yaakov did know about the sale. Midrash Tanchuma and Os Yud. And it could be, Ayin Beis Sheva explains, originally Yaakov didn't believe them. that Yosef was alive because the brothers didn't tell him about the sale. So the Avos Rabbi Nosson says, you see from over here, there's a punishment for liars. Even if liars tell the truth, they won't even believe when they're telling the truth. That's the idea over here. Basic idea is there's a lot of different opinions. And according to this idea that Yosef didn't tell his brothers, we see the tremendous righteousness that he had and the sensitivity that he had. Such a major event, and we have to learn this for our life as well. So basically, different opinions, something to consider, something to think about. It's an interesting topic. Different opinions. What to discuss on it. Okay, everyone should have a wonderful Shabbos. Bruchim too. Yeah.
Shabbos.